The last line of defense. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of Orbital Station Delta, watching Earth's last defensive fleet assemble. The sight would have been comical if it weren't so desperate. Salvage vessels retrofitted with makeshift weapons, mining ships with their industrial lasers hastily recalibrated, and ancient orbital shuttles carrying newly welded armor plates. 3 months ago, the Exarethi Empire had appeared in Sol space with their crystalline ships and quantum weaponry. They had decimated Earth's professional military fleet in hours, their advanced technology cutting through humanity's best defenses like paper. But they had made one critical mistake. They had given humanity time to adapt. "Commander, the civilian conversion program is complete," reported Captain James Rodriguez, his holographic projection flickering beside her. "We've modified every spaceworthy vessel we could find. It's not pretty, but it's all we've got." Chen nodded, studying the tactical display. Where once stood proud military vessels, now floated a ragtag collection of civilian ships. Cargo haulers had been transformed into crude carriers, their huge holds now launching bays for salvaged fighter craft. Mining vessels, their powerful industrial cutting beams modified beyond their original specifications, formed the backbone of their makeshift artillery. "Status report on that Exarethi fleet?" Chen asked, though she already knew the answer. The alien armada had been methodically destroying human colonies, moving inward toward Earth with mechanical precision. "They're maintaining their standard approach pattern," Rodriguez replied. "Their tactics haven't changed since day one. They don't think they need to adapt." Chen allowed herself a grim smile. "That's their weakness, Captain. They've never had to evolve. Their technology has always been superior, until now." She turned to face the holographic projection of her senior staff, gathered from various command centers around Earth. "Show me what we've accomplished." Dr. Maya Patel, their chief engineer, stepped forward. Her avatar displayed a series of technical readouts. "We've discovered something interesting about Exarethi shield technology. Their defensive fields operate on predictable quantum frequencies, designed to counter conventional military-grade weapons. But our improvised weapons, they're dirty, inefficient, and completely unpredictable." She highlighted a recording from their last skirmish, where a modified mining laser had somehow penetrated a Exarethi cruiser's supposedly impenetrable shields. "Their defensive systems can't adapt to our crude technology because it doesn't follow any logical pattern they're programmed to recognize." "What about our own defenses?" Chen asked, watching as more ships joined the growing fleet outside. "That's where it gets interesting," Patel continued. "We've been layering different types of shielding. Everything from electromagnetic barriers to simple physical armor. It's inefficient and power-hungry, but the Exarethi weapons can't optimize against it. They don't know where to focus their attacks." Lieutenant Kira Wong, their tactical officer, added her own analysis. "We've also noticed their targeting systems struggle against our irregular formation patterns. They're looking for military precision, but our civilian pilots don't move like soldiers. They're unpredictable, creative." Chen absorbed this information, watching Earth's last fleet take shape. Every ship represented thousands of hours of human ingenuity, of engineers and technicians refusing to give up. Where the Exarethi had relied on their advanced technology, humanity had been forced to rely on creativity and desperation. "The Exarethi think they're facing a defeated species making its last stand." Chen addressed her staff. "They expect us to fight like a proper military force, to follow the rules of engagement they've programmed into their combat systems. But we're going to show them something they've never seen before." She gestured to the tactical display, where red dots indicated the approaching Exarethi fleet. "We're going to show them what happens when you back humanity into a corner with nothing but scrap metal and determination. We're going to show them why humans have survived every catastrophe our history has thrown at us." The holographic staff stood straighter, a new determination visible in their stance. They had spent 3 months preparing for this moment, turning garbage into weapons, desperation into innovation. "Send word to all ships," Chen commanded. Operation Scrapyard begins in 6 hours. Tell them. She paused, looking out at the mismatched fleet one more time. Tell them that today we're going to teach the galaxy why you should never underestimate human ingenuity. As the staff hurried to relay her orders, Chen remained at the observation window. The Exarathi were coming with their perfect ships and flawless technology, but they were about to learn that perfection had a weakness. It couldn't adapt. And adaptation was humanity's greatest strength. Let's show them what we can do with their scraps, she whispered to herself as Earth's last fleet prepared for battle. Scrapyard warriors. The first wave of Exarathi ships emerged from hyperspace like shards of crystal catching starlight. Their formation was mathematically perfect, each vessel positioned with computer-calculated precision. Inside Orbital Station Delta's command center, Commander Chen watched as the enemy approached, their movements exactly as predicted. They're running the same attack pattern they used at Alpha Centauri, Lieutenant Wang reported, her fingers dancing across the tactical display. Standard triple helix formation, designed to maximize their shield overlap. Perfect, Chen replied, allowing herself a small smile. They haven't learned. Signal the mining division. The first line of Earth's defense consisted of converted mining vessels, their hulls still bearing the faded logos of various corporations. As the Exarathi fleet approached, these ships appeared to scatter in panic, their movements chaotic and uncoordinated. The Exarathi pressed forward, their quantum weapons charging. Their tactical computers would be calculating firing solutions based on military evasion patterns that these civilian pilots had never learned. Mining Division, execute Protocol Rockbreaker, Chen ordered. The mining ships suddenly altered their seemingly random flight paths. Their industrial cutting beams, originally designed to slice through asteroids, activated simultaneously. But instead of firing directly at the Exarathi ships, they targeted the debris field that Dr. Patel's team had carefully positioned over the past week. Chunks of spacecraft wreckage, asteroid fragments, and space station remnants erupted into clouds of superheated plasma and metallic vapor. The Exarathi's pristine formation was suddenly engulfed in a chaotic storm of energized particles and molten metal. Their shields are trying to compensate, Dr. Patel reported excitedly. The random energy signatures are forcing their systems to constantly recalibrate. They can't maintain their formation without risking shield collapse. The perfect crystal-like formation of the Exarathi fleet began to break apart as individual ships tried to escape the debris cloud. That's when Chen signaled the second phase of their attack. Cargo Division, you have permission to engage. The modified cargo haulers, their holds now containing salvaged fighter craft instead of shipping containers, opened their bay doors. Waves of fighters emerged, but these weren't sleek military vessels. They were maintenance shuttles, repair craft, and space tugs, each one bristling with jerry-rigged weapons. Remember, Chen broadcast to the fighter pilots, don't try to fight them ship to ship. Use what you know. The civilian pilots did exactly that. Maintenance shuttles used their magnetic grapples, designed for space station repairs, to latch onto Exarathi ships and disrupt their shield geometries. Repair craft, intimately familiar with the vulnerabilities of spacecraft hulls, targeted junction points and power conduits that military pilots might have overlooked. A Exarathi cruiser, its shields destabilized by the debris cloud, found itself swarmed by space tugs. These tiny vessels, originally built to move disabled ships, now used their powerful maneuvering thrusters to push the massive alien craft off course, forcing it into the path of its own allies' weapons fire. They're transmitting signals in all frequencies, Wang reported. I think they're trying to demand our surrender. Chen watched as another Exarathi ship fell victim to the unorthodox tactics of Earth's scrapyard fleet. They still don't understand. They think this is desperation. They don't realize it's innovation. The battle continued to unfold, but not according to any tactical doctrine ever taught at a military academy. The Exarathi's superior technology was being countered by techniques they had never encountered, because no military force would ever consider using them. Salvage ships use their magnetic fields, designed to collect space debris, to disrupt the careful sensor calibrations of Serathi targeting systems. Old communication satellites, reprogrammed to broadcast on random frequencies, created interference that played havoc with the aliens' quantum-linked command network. Commander, Rodriguez called out, "They're pulling back. 3 of their capital ships have taken serious damage, and the others, they're retreating." The command center erupted in cheers, but Chen raised her hand for silence. "Don't celebrate yet. This was just their vanguard. They'll be back, and next time, they'll try to adapt to our tactics." "Let them try," Dr. Pidal said confidently. "By then, we'll have something new ready. The fabrication teams are already studying the battle data, coming up with new modifications." Chen nodded, watching as the surviving Serathi ships disappeared into hyperspace. "That's the difference between us and them. Their strength lies in perfection, weapons and tactics honed to their peak. But our strength," she gestured to the Galactic fleet that had just achieved the impossible, "our strength lies in imperfection, in the ability to take whatever we have and make it work, no matter how unlikely or unorthodox it might be." As the fleet regrouped, damage reports began coming in. They had lost ships, good people, but they had proven something vital. Humanity's scrapyard warriors could stand against the galaxy's most advanced military force. "Begin recovery operations," Chen ordered. "Salvage everything you can from the battlefield, every piece of debris, every damaged component. Tomorrow, we'll start turning them into new weapons, and when the Exarathi return." She left the thought unfinished, but everyone in the command center understood. When the Exarathi returned, humanity would be ready with yet another impossible innovation, another unthinkable tactic. Because that's what humans did best. They adapted, they survived, and they turned their enemy's strength into their own advantage. The turning point. 3 days after humanity's first victory, Dr. Maya Patel stood in her laboratory aboard Orbital Station Delta, surrounded by holographic projections of salvaged Exarathi technology. The crystalline fragments seemed to mock her with their complexity, their quantum-engineered perfection, a stark contrast to the makeshift equipment around her. "Run the simulation again," she ordered her team, watching as the computer modeled the interaction between a piece of Exarathi shield technology and their crude weapons. Something wasn't adding up. The aliens' defensive systems were behaving differently than before. "Dr. Patel," Commander Chen's voice came through the intercom. "The Exarathi fleet has been detected approaching the Kuiper Belt. This time, they'd brought 3 times the forces." Maya studied the latest simulation results, her eyes widening. "Commander, I need to see you immediately. I think I've found something." In the command center, Maya faced Chen and the senior staff, her hands trembling with excitement. "The Serathi aren't just adapting their tactics. They're trying to adapt their technology to counter our crude weapons. But in doing so, they're making their systems more vulnerable, not less." She projected a technical analysis. "Their quantum shields are designed to be perfect, to counter any conventional military threat. By trying to account for our unpredictable weapons, they're introducing imperfections into their own systems. They're learning the wrong lesson from their defeat." Chen leaned forward, studying the data. "Can we exploit this?" "Better than that," Maya grinned. "We can use it to change the entire nature of the battle." "Lieutenant Wang, remember how their ships communicate?" Wang nodded. "Quantum-entangled networks. Instantaneous, unblockable communication." "Exactly. But now they're modifying those networks to account for our interference. They're making them more flexible, more adaptive. And in doing so, they're creating gaps we can exploit. We don't need to break their perfect system. They're breaking it themselves in their attempt to counter us." The command center buzzed with activity as Maya's discovery spread through the fleet. The Exarathi's greatest strength, their technological superiority, was becoming their greatest weakness. Their attempt to adapt to human unpredictability was forcing them to compromise their own perfect systems. As the massive Exarathi fleet approached, Earth's defenders prepared their response. This time, they didn't scatter. Instead, they formed their own unusual formation, one that would have made any military tactician cringe. Salvage ships clustered around mining vessels, cargo haulers positioned themselves at seemingly random angles, and fighters gathered in loose, asymmetric groups. They're transmitting targeting data through their quantum network, Wong reported as the Exarathi opened fire. Their attacks were different now, less precise but more widespread, trying to account for the humans' erratic movements. Now, Chen ordered. Maya's team activated their new weapon, not a conventional arms system, but a network of crude quantum transmitters cobbled together from salvaged Exarathi technology and human communication equipment. The device didn't try to jam or override the Exarathi network. Instead, it introduced random quantum fluctuations, exploiting the very adaptations the aliens had made to counter human unpredictability. The effect was immediate and devastating. Exarathi ships, their systems trying to compensate for the quantum interference, began firing at wrong targets. Their perfect formation, now designed to be more flexible, became confused and disorganized. Their own adaptations are working against them, Maya explained, watching the chaos unfold. They tried to make their perfect system handle imperfection, and instead, they made it vulnerable to chaos. The battle that followed wasn't the desperate defense of their first encounter. This time, humanity's scrapyard fleet pressed their advantage. Mining ships fired their crude weapons through the gaps in Exarathi shields that the aliens had inadvertently created. Fighters exploited the confusion in the enemy's command network to strike at vulnerable points that would never have been exposed in their original perfect formation. They're trying to revert to their original programming, Wong reported, but they can't. The adaptations they made are permanent. They'd need to completely rebuild their systems to restore their original perfection. Chen watched as the mighty Exarathi fleet, 3 times the size of their previous force, began to break apart. Not in retreat this time, but in defeat. Ships collided as their coordination failed, weapons fired at empty space, and defensive formations crumbled. Send the message, Chen ordered. The same one, on all frequencies. Throughout the battle, Earth's fleet had been broadcasting a single message, over and over. Perfection is a limitation. Adaptation is strength. As the remaining Exarathi ships fled the battlefield, leaving behind their damaged and destroyed vessels, Maya watched the tactical display with a mixture of awe and satisfaction. They didn't just lose a battle today, she said quietly. They lost their certainty, their belief in the superiority of perfection over adaptation. Chen nodded. And that's why we'll win this war. Not because we're stronger or more advanced, but because we understand something they don't. The power of imperfection, of adaptation, of turning weakness into strength. The scrapyard fleet regrouped, already salvaging what they could from the battlefield, already planning new modifications and improvements. They had proven that humanity's greatest asset wasn't technology or resources, but their ability to embrace chaos, to find strength in imperfection, and to turn their enemies' greatest strengths against them. The turning point of the war wasn't marked by a single decisive victory, but by the moment when humanity's apparent weakness became their greatest weapon. The Exarathi had come expecting to fight an inferior force. Instead, they had encountered something their perfect systems could never truly comprehend: the incredible power of human adaptability. Counter-strike. The war room of Orbital Station Delta hummed with nervous energy as Commander Chen studied the holographic map of Exarathi space. Red markers indicated their military installations, each one previously considered impregnable. But that was before humanity had changed the rules of engagement. The Exarathi have withdrawn to their core systems, Captain Rodriguez reported. They've abandoned their forward bases and are consolidating their forces around their primary shipyards. They're afraid, Lieutenant Wong added, her voice tinged with disbelief. The most advanced civilization in known space is afraid of our jury-rigged fleet. Chen nodded, her eyes fixed on one particular point in the holographic display. The Exarathi's primary manufacturing center, where they produced their quantum-engineered weapons and ships. They should be. Dr. Patel, show them what we've developed. Maya stepped forward, triggering a new hologram. It showed what appeared to be a standard cargo container, the kind that had once carried supplies between Earth's colonies. We're calling it the Trojan Horse, she explained. Inside each container is a quantum resonance device, built from salvaged Exarathi tech, combined with modified mining equipment. The hologram expanded, revealing the internal mechanics. The Exarathi are so focused on defending against conventional attacks that they never considered someone might weaponize their own quantum field harmonics against them. These devices don't try to break through their defenses. They make their defenses break themselves. Chen turned to face her assembled officers. The Exarathi think they know what we're capable of. They've seen us defend Earth with converted civilian ships and improvised weapons, but they haven't seen what we can do when we take the fight to them. The plan was audacious, perhaps even insane by conventional military standards. But conventional military thinking had ceased to apply the moment humanity turned mining lasers and cargo haulers into effective weapons of war. Earth's fleet moved out under cover of a massive electromagnetic storm, another gift from their salvaged Exarathi technology. The storm wasn't meant to hide them completely. It was meant to make their approach look clumsy and desperate, exactly what the Exarathi would expect from primitive human ships. As they approached the first Exarathi defense line, Maya's voice came over the command channel. Remember, we're not trying to beat their technology. We're making their technology beat itself. The battle began not with an exchange of fire, but with a series of seemingly random equipment failures aboard the Exarathi vessels. The quantum resonance devices, hidden in cargo containers that appeared to have broken free from human ships, activated in sequence. Each one created a cascading failure in the Exarathi's perfect quantum systems. Their shield harmonics are destabilizing, Wang reported, watching as the enemy fleet struggled to maintain their defensive formations. They're trying to adapt again, but they can't, Maya finished. Because this time, we're not using crude weapons they need to adapt to. We're using their own technology's perfection against them. The more perfect their systems are, the more vulnerable they are to quantum resonance disruption. The Exarathi fleet's response was chaos. Their attempts to counter the quantum disruption only made it worse, each adjustment creating new vulnerabilities that Maya's devices exploited. Ships designed to operate in perfect harmony with each other suddenly found their systems in conflict, their weapons firing at random, their shields collapsing under their own power. We're not just winning the battle, Chen realized, watching the tactical display. We're destroying their faith in their own technology. The push toward the Exarathi manufacturing center continued. Earth's fleet, their ships still bearing the scars and patches of countless improvisations, drove deeper into enemy territory. They weren't just fighting with superior tactics now. They were fighting with the psychological advantage of having turned the enemy's greatest strength into a weakness. When they reached the manufacturing center, they found its defenses already compromised. The quantum resonance disruption had spread through the Exarathi's command network, affecting not just their ships but their fixed installations as well. They're sending a transmission, Wang announced. Text only, broadcasting on all frequencies. The message appeared on the main screen. How have you done this? Chen dictated her response. You built perfect systems that couldn't adapt. We built imperfect systems that could never stop adapting. That's the difference between us. The manufacturing center fell not to conventional weapons, but to the cascading failure of its own perfect systems. The Exarathi's greatest achievement, their quantum-engineered technology, had become their greatest vulnerability. As Earth's fleet secured their objective, Chen gathered her senior staff. This isn't just a military victory, she told them. This is a fundamental shift in how war will be fought in this galaxy. The Exarathi believed that perfect technology was the key to military superiority. We've proven that adaptability, creativity, and the willingness to embrace imperfection are far more powerful. Maya added, they'll try to learn from this to make their systems more flexible. But they're starting from a foundation of perfect, unchanging technology. We're starting from a foundation of constant adaptation and improvement. The scrapyard fleet, now veterans of impossible victories, began preparing for the next phase of their offensive. They had proven that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in having the best technology, but in their ability to take whatever technology they had and make it work in ways no one had ever imagined. As they secured the manufacturing center, Chen reflected on how far they had come. From defending Earth with converted civilian ships to striking at the heart of the galaxy's most advanced civilization, they had done it not by trying to match the Exarathi's technological perfection, but by embracing their own imperfections and turning them into advantages. The counterstrike had succeeded beyond their wildest expectations, but Chen knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of a new era in galactic warfare, one where adaptation and creativity would always triumph over rigid perfection. Evolution of war. The crystalline spires of the Exarathi High Command rose before the Earth delegation like frozen lightning bolts piercing the alien sky. Commander Chen, walking alongside Dr. Maya Patel and Lieutenant Wang, couldn't help but notice how the perfect geometric patterns now seemed brittle rather than imposing. 3 months had passed since humanity's strike at the Exarathi Manufacturing Center. The war hadn't ended with a decisive battle, but with something far more profound, a request for dialogue from the Exarathi High Command itself. "They're waiting for us," their Exarathi guide announced, its crystalline form shifting colors in what they had learned was a sign of anxiety. The guide's perfect symmetry was marred by what appeared to be intentional imperfections, small irregularities that would have been unthinkable in Exarathi society before the war. The council chamber was a vast hemisphere, its walls lined with quantum crystal displays showing real-time data from across the Exarathi Empire. But now, interspersed among the perfect data streams were chaotic patterns that seemed distinctly human in origin. The Exarathi High Command, 5 crystalline beings seated in a precise pentagonal arrangement, greeted them with synchronized movements. But Chen noticed something different. Their synchronization wasn't perfect anymore. Each member moved with subtle variations, as if testing the boundaries of imperfection. "You have changed the nature of warfare," the first speaker began, its voice resonating through the chamber. "More than that, you have changed us. We do not yet know if this is evolution or devolution." Maya stepped forward, her hand steady as she operated her tablet. "With respect, speakers, it's both. We've analyzed the quantum field data from our recent encounters. Your attempts to adapt to our tactics have created something entirely new, a hybrid of Exarathi precision and human chaos." She projected a hologram showing the energy patterns of recent battles. Where once there had been perfect crystalline structures, now there were complex, almost organic patterns of interaction between human and Exarathi technology. "Your society is built on the pursuit of perfection," Chen added. "Ours is built on the pursuit of adaptation. What you see as devolution, we see as growth. The ability to embrace imperfection, to learn from it, to turn it into strength. That's true evolution." The second speaker's crystalline form flickered with colors they had never seen before. "We have studied your scrapyard fleet extensively. Your weapons should not work. Your tactics should not succeed. Your entire approach to warfare violates every principle we have developed over millennia of conflict." "That's exactly why it works," Wang interjected. "You built your defenses to counter weapons and tactics that follow logical patterns. But human innovation doesn't follow patterns. It breaks them, combines them in ways that shouldn't work but do." The chamber fell silent as the High Command processed this. Around them, the quantum crystal displays showed battles from the war. Human cargo ships turning their gravitational tethers into weapons, mining lasers penetrating impenetrable shields, salvage technology being used in ways its creators had never imagined. "We have made a decision," the first speaker announced. "The Exarathi Empire proposes not just peace, but partnership. We offer our technology, our resources, our knowledge. In return, we ask you to teach us." Chen blinked in surprise. "Teach you. To adapt, to innovate, to embrace imperfection as a path to greater strength." The first speaker's form shifted, deliberately breaking its perfect symmetry. "We have learned that there is power in chaos, strength in adaptation. Our pursuit of perfection has become our limitation." Maya smiled, understanding the profound shift this represented. "And our limitations became our strength because we never stopped trying to overcome them." The negotiations that followed weren't just about peace terms or technological exchange. They were about something far more fundamental: the evolution of two radically different approaches to civilization. The Exarathi began incorporating controlled imperfections into their quantum systems, making them more adaptable. Humans learned to refine their chaotic innovations without losing their creative edge. 6 months later, Chen stood on the observation deck of Orbital Station Delta, watching a joint human-Exarathi engineering team at work. They were modifying the human cargo hauler with Exarathi quantum technology, but not to make it perfect. Instead, they were enhancing its ability to adapt, to change its configuration on the fly. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Maya said, joining her at the window. "Not perfect, but beautiful because of its imperfections. They're calling it quantum chaos theory," Wang added, reviewing data on her tablet. "The Exarathi are completely redesigning their approach to technology, incorporating randomness and adaptability into their systems." Chen nodded, watching as more ships joined the combined fleet. Some were crystalline, Exarathi vessels with obvious human modifications, jury-rigged additions that made them more unpredictable. Others were human ships incorporating Exarathi technology, but used in ways the aliens had never considered. "We didn't just change how we fight wars," Chen reflected. "We changed how two civilizations think about progress itself. The Exarathi learned that perfection is a dead end, and we learned that our greatest weakness, our need to improvise and adapt, was actually our greatest strength." As she watched the fleet exercise, Chen saw the future taking shape. Not a future of perfect crystalline ships moving in mathematical precision, nor one of jury-rigged vessels held together by determination and creativity. Instead, she saw a fusion of both approaches: technology that could adapt and evolve, strength born from the marriage of precision and chaos. The war that had begun with scrapyard ships facing a perfect enemy had evolved into something far more profound, a fundamental shift in how civilization itself would develop. And it had all started because humanity refused to accept that their limitations were weaknesses, transforming them instead into the keys to victory. The age of perfect warfare was over. The age of adaptive evolution had begun.